Hey, hello, what's good? What's good, my beautiful humans? And welcome to the What's Good podcast. I am your host, your girl, Monique, aka Mo Diva. Man, listen, I have an amazing show for you guys tonight. But first, let me just say thank you. Thank you for those that are joining me. Thank you for taking this time to hang out with me because you didn't have to, right? There's so much that we can be doing. So I never take for granted when people want to share time and space with me. So, yeah, so man, listen, I have a great show tonight. I'm excited. I have a beautiful sister, Miss Troya Bishop, who is man, she is doing so many wonderful things. She is an advocate for social justice, right? She is, let me just say, well, in addition to an author, right? Because she is an author, and we're going to be talking about her book today. But man, she's done so many wonderful things in her career. When she was at, uh, excuse me, when President Obama was, I keep calling him President Obama. Well, yeah, he is president. When he was in, leadership, she was invited out to the White House for this initiative that he had to participate. It was called My Brother's Keeper initiative for young men of color. So I mean that's super dope. And we're gonna talk more about that when I bring her in. But so before we get started with the show, I wanna share something. I'm like sharing is caring, right? So one of the things that I found, well, I didn't find. I was invited out to dinner, and man, this restaurant is amazing. If you like Thai food, right? This restaurant is called Non Thai Fine Dining, and it's located at 1350 Spring Street Northwest. Okay. And for those that may be joining from around the world, this is in Atlanta, Georgia. So if you want to go, you gotta come to Atlanta. Man, the food was amazing. The atmosphere was wonderful. I'm a person that loves the dim lighting gives you the ambiance and all of that. So yeah, I love that, right? So it had all of that. Staff was amazing as well. So that was the good find. So I want to talk to you about a little life lesson that came out of that. So you were here. Well, I don't know about you, but I've heard people say that, oh man, when I go to an event, I don't want to be snapping pictures and doing all of that because I want to stay in the moment, right? So I'm a person that I love to take pictures. I love to capture the moment, right? So some years ago, I went to a friend of mine's baby shower, and I was taking pictures for her, like capturing those moments, right? So now we're talking about over 5 years ago, right? So now let's fast forward. So this is the friend that invited me out to dinner. We hadn't seen each other in a long time. She was in town for training. I was like, hey, let's go out to dinner. I was like, okay. She took me to this restaurant, like I said, which is great. And so we just started talking and chomping it up, and I was talking about the baby shower and stuff, and I was like, yeah, and I started showing her pictures. She was like, oh my gosh, Mo, I don't have any of these pictures. She was like, oh, look at such and such and Uncle such and such. She said, I did not have any of these pictures. And I mean, it's unfortunate, but at least she does have the picture. She was like, man, some of the people in these pictures are no longer here. And I was like, wow. So the tip, the little takeaway from that was, just always be true to you. Be you. And that's me. I am a person that love to take pictures. I love to capture the moment because I like to reflect, and I like to go back and just look at those pictures, and then you start to get that warm and fuzzy feeling, right? So that's just one of the little life lessons. So I want to share some good news, and then I'm going to bring my guest in. Okay. So I found this person. Hold on, let me get the information together because this is some really good information. Now I found this person on Instagram. So, and this is the person's name is A Carithers, right? And my apologies if I'm pronouncing it wrong. So on Instagram, it's 678 the real estate. All right. 678 the real estate. Well, she's partnering with another business, and they are offering affordable housing. Now, check this out. This is for anybody who makes less than 80,000 and who has a 620 score. So, yes, those are the two things. You got to make less than 80,000 and you have to have at minimum a 620 credit score. Well, check this out. For teachers and police and firefighters, you can get 45,000 in down payment assistance. Yes, you heard me. 45,000 in down payment assistance. And if you do not fall in one of those categories, you get 40,000. Okay. it's not 45, but it's 40. Okay. And I think that's just amazing. That is awesome. And 19 people will be put in a lottery and, will get, excuse me, not 19 people, but it'll be 19 people out of the lottery who will be getting these homes. And I just think that is so wonderful and so amazing. So you got to make sure, check out, because I didn't write down the neighborhood that it's in, because it's in a particular neighborhood. So my apologies. I'll do better next time, making sure I have all those little nuggets. But make sure you go follow her on Instagram at, like I said, 678 the THE real estate. And you can find out that information about these new houses that they're building in this community. And if you, like I said, you fall into this criteria, make sure that you tap into that. All right. So now, drum roll. It's just me in the studio, so I can only do my only drum roll. I got to do sound effects and everything. Okay. So please give a warm welcome to my sister friend and a beautiful spirit and an amazing woman. And you're going to hear just all the wonderful things that she's doing. Miss Troya Bishop.
Hello, hello, hello.
Hey, how are you?
I'm wonderful. How are you?
I'm amazing. I am
Yes,
amazing.
you are.
That's listen. I'm glad that you're here.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. Yeah. Thank you for being here. Welcome, Troya Bishop, to the What's Good show. So
Thank you.
Troya,
Yes.
what's good? That's what I want to say. Look, I had to give you a little Brooklyn. I'm sorry. That was what I think I was Brooklyn. I was like, what's good?
I love it. I love it. Well, first, let me say thank you for having me. But God is good,
Oh my,
and
yes.
His mercy endureth forever for all generations, and His
Mm,
faithfulness for all generations. That's
yeah.
Psalm 105. That's one of my favorite scriptures. So
Uh-huh.
I had to get that in there. God is good, and God is so faithful.
Yes,
Um,
he is.
I
Yes,
think
he
I've
is.
known all my life that God was good. I've been a believer since I was a child. I was raised in the church and in the Christian faith. But
Uh-huh.
I think these last few years, I'll say since 2018, when I released the book, I really have learned a lot about God's grace, God's mercy, but especially
Mhm.
God's faithfulness. As you grow as an adult and just in your walk, even
Mhm.
if you're not a believer, you just
Right.
learn just to relax and just to fall in and to the ebb and the flows, and you understand. At least I understand about what
Yes.
God's faithfulness really is. So I'm just here today with a grateful heart, just full of God's love, and I'm just really
I know.
happy.
And listen, you have done some amazing things. And the reason why I'm saying this is because sometimes you will meet people who have accomplished a lot, and they're very cocky with it, right? You know, but you would never know. So you were just so down to earth, and some, like, with your accomplishments, some people could be trying to walk around with, yeah, what, this is me. Yes, I'm Miss Troya. But you are so humble, and just so. I want to just talk about that a little bit before we get into. Ooh, I'm sorry, my heart started palpitating a little bit about what we're gonna talk about with that book. But before
Okay.
we get into that, you know, you are a person. You're a big advocate of social justice, right? I know you have
Definitely.
worked
Yes.
with Al Sharpton. You have
Mhm.
like over 25 years of experience just being being an advocate and
Yes.
stuff. And so how did you get into that? Let's talk about that a little bit.
Well, what happened initially, I actually got fired from teaching in Atlanta, from Atlanta Public School System. Yes, and I don't know if you remember. I'm sure your audience members remember the whole quote unquote cheating scandal, like 2009, 2010.
Okay, now
I
for
refused.
me.
I refused to cheat. Oh, that's okay. So it
Yeah,
was
before.
just it was a cheating scandal in the Atlanta public school system, and I refused to be a part of it. So my principal at the time fired me. And after that happened, of course, I had just got a pay raise, had just been like literally 4 months divorced, and talk about having to trust God. But I
Mm-hmm.
really had to trust God and say, I'm not going to cheat. That's just crazy. I'm not going to lie and say the kids are and erase test scores and say the kids are doing something they can't do. So I let my principal fire me, and across the street from where I went to sign my papers was Al Sharpton's Atlanta Office of National Action Network on People Street, literally. And I went over there and just being nosy, just started talking to
Mhm.
people. And it was like I went there in 2009. It was there for the next 10 years. Technically, it's still
Wow,
there. 'Cause they call me when they need anything, and vice versa. And that's
that
just
I tell you that is so much. Look, when one door is closed, God will open. Listen, He will open a door because what
yes, his
happened to you
faithfulness.
was not right. It wasn't right, and so He took care of you. God
Sure
take
did.
care. God take care of His babies. Like don't play about my child,
Yep.
right? Don't do that. So you did something else that was also amazing as well. So when President Obama was, active in office, you got invited to the White House to
Yes.
participate in this initiative. Like,
Yes.
come on, I want to get invited to the, well, I don't know. Yeah, I could get invited to the White House now. I would say that I'm okay with getting invited. I don't know what's going to happen later, but right now. So how was that? How did that even happen?
The craziest thing, I started after I left National Action Network. I started my own 501c3 with the thanks of Derek Hill. He's one of the people who did 501c3s for like Ricky Smiley and Phaedra Parks and all these other Steve Harvey and all these other famous people. But he still did one for me, and so with that, I just was like, well, I don't know anybody rich and famous, and just I asked God to give me people that really needed to be served, and those
Mm-hmm.
people happened to be women who were either going to prison and trying to find a place for their children, or either coming home and trying to reconnect with their kids. And so
Mm-hmm.
that's what my program basically was. So of course I came across moms with children with all different types of needs, and never to this day never did any kind of advertisement, but just from word of mouth, people talked about who I am and what I was doing and how the great service that they got. And I ended up invited to the White House to do work for President Obama. And let me tell you, we worked. Like we went
What? Like, no, this is for real. Like, we was
for
worth
real.
it. Like,
We
you was
worked.
worth
They
it,
had
right?
us. We got there like early in the morning. They fed us lunch
Mhm.
and dinner, and it was the best meatballs I've ever had in my whole life. Because they got some black folks back there cooking in the White House now. Them sisters was
Okay.
back there throwing down,
Okay.
and and the
Wow.
food was good, but we stayed and we really worked because President Obama said he wanted My Brother's Keeper initiative to be his legacy. And so we wanted to make sure
Mhm.
that everything that he put in place was ironclad and that it was well done, and that he was able to roll it out and maintain it and maintain the efficacy of um,
Mhm.
that that movement for a while. And that's what we did.
Yeah.
And it was an honor to serve in that capacity.
Wow, that is so. Now, did you actually see him? Did you meet him?
Not that day, but before then, I met him. Actually, when I met him a couple times, I met him here at Georgia Tech
Oh,
when he spoke, and then another time on the campaign trail here as
you
well.
met him. Is
Yes,
it?
it was
He's tall.
definitely.
Because he's tall. Like how
He's
tall is
tall. I'm not sure
Obama?
how tall President Obama is, but everybody is tall to me because I'm so short. I'm 5'4", so everybody's tall to me. But he's definitely tall.
You was like, well, Mo. Everybody's pretty much tall to
Yeah,
me. Like,
everybody's
yeah.
tall.
Oh my God. Because he honestly, and I know people, you always hear stuff they talking about, President Obama is so down, he's so down to earth. And he
Yeah,
really does seem like he is down to earth, that he
yes,
is like real cool, just like a real nice person, like approachable, and not where
right.
you have to feel like, oh, like scared. Like,
He
yeah,
is
he
wonderful. And
does.
Michelle Obama is the same way. She is amazing. And of
So beautiful. Mm-hmm. Oh, wait a minute. I think I got you frozen. You frozen a little bit. Hold on. You know how we are in this technology. Hold
yes.
on. Oh, there you go. You was frozen
Hey,
a little bit. Your
okay.
screen was frozen. I was like, wait a
Okay.
minute.
I'm in Decatur and it's raining, and no matter where I am, it always goes in and out in the rain. I don't know what's
Oh,
up with that.
that's okay. Because listen, the message is still going to be heard. We don't get any little glitches
Yes.
or whatever. That's great. So before we jump into the book, there's one more thing that I just want you to talk about.
Okay.
Your experience. Man, listen, I'm reading your bio. I said, wait a minute. Chief of staff. Chief of sis. Come on. Come through. I'm giving you some snap. Look.
Thank you.
Back in the, I know I may date myself a little bit, but in Living Color, when they used to be like two snaps in a circle, you getting that
What
right
that
now.
shit?
Two
Yes.
snaps in a circle. That is wonderful.
Yes.
Congratulations on
Thank you
that.
very much. Yeah, so this is
Yes.
my
Talk to us
second
about that.
year. Yes, this is my second year serving as chief of staff for State Representative El Madi Holly, and he represents District 116, which is it used to be Clayton County. We Clayton and Henry, we redistricted, so now we're Henry County and parts of DeKalb. And so even today, we
Okay.
spent time going out to recognize people in the district who had done really wonderful things. Black men, getting ready for our Black Men and Boys Day next Wednesday at the Capitol. So it's so much fun to serve in this capacity. It really is.
Oh, okay. Wait. You said Black Boys and Men Days. So what
Yes.
in Washington in DC?
No, so we'll be here
Oh,
next Wednesday. We'll be downtown Atlanta at the Capitol, and we're hosting Black Men and Boys Day. And we have Black Voters Matter, Black Male Initiative, and so many other Black centered organizations that put men in the forefront. And we'll be highlighting them and other people who are doing great things. We want to make sure that people know that just because Democrats aren't in power doesn't mean that you don't have power. And we want to make sure that people come into the people's house and they know how they can get involved and be active and lobby their um, their leaders. And so we're
yeah.
there. Yeah, we'll be doing that.
That is so nice. So how can, because of course, depending upon when, the viewers view this, on the recording, how can someone register, or can they still partake in this, or is it too late to
It's not
register?
too late. They can still go. They can come and they can show up, and we will be ready to receive them. They now you have to have a valid driver's license in order to get
Okay.
into the Capitol. And of course,
Okay.
don't come with guns and knives and other stuff that's prohibited, like either on an airplane or in public buildings. But we will
Right.
be there smiling and with bells on, happy to receive you in the People's House Wednesday, March 20th at 9 o'clock.
So they just show up there. They don't need to go to like a website or anything. They
No,
just
they just
need
show
to
up. It's the
show
People's
up.
House. Now we're gonna have some refreshments, but we're gonna have what we have, no matter who comes. So
Right, right. They're
it's
gonna
already
have
paid for.
fun, right?
So
So that's
don't
wonderful.
get you some
That is,
McDonald's before you go.
be like, you're gonna have some little friends, but whoever show up, let's go. And I
Yes.
think that's wonderful. That is wonderful. So nice. So viewers, make sure, I mean, your men and our young boys, because we do need to,
Mhm.
teach our young men, and even
Yes.
honestly, some of our older men, some men, depending upon the environment they had, how they grew up. So you just never know a person's backstory,
Exactly.
right?
Yep.
So we can't always just, I know when we see the person in front of us, I get it, because that's who you're meeting, right?
Right.
When you
Right.
meet somebody for the first time, that's who you're getting, that person. But we have to remember that person has a backstory, right?
Yes.
This person has gone through some life, some situations that has evolved them to the person that you seeing in front of you,
Exactly.
right? So sometimes we may have to have a little grace. We may have to have a little extra patience,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because we don't know what that person has been through.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. Yeah, so thank you for sharing that. Okay. So now, Miss Troya,
Yes, ma'am.
you came out with your book. What was it? The Answers to Intimacy,
Mm-hmm.
right? That was the first edition. Now
Yes.
this is a second release. All
Yes.
right. All right. Come on. Talk to us about that. Now, so what I want you to do, I want, for those that, of course, don't even know about the first one, right?
Okay.
Right. Talk about what this book is a little bit. And then let's talk about why you came out with a second, why you released it again. Yeah. Let's talk
Okay.
about
I got you. So I am in by nature and by trade and profession a teacher. And everything that I have done since I released my first book in 2015 has been about racism. So the first one was
that.
The Answers, A Parent's Guide to Discussing Racism with Children. The next one
Mhm.
was The Answers, Discussing and Defeating Racism in America. And then this one kind of spawned from the research from those first two, because when I was on the road and doing shows, people would ask, well, how does racism affect relationships? And I wasn't quite sure. So
Mhm.
I had my ideas, but instead of just giving people what I thought, I wanted to
Uh-huh.
give people what I knew for sure. And because
Yes.
at the time I was still in my doctoral program, I used the access that I had to hundreds and hundreds of databases to actually do some research. And so
Mhm.
when I finished that research, I put it in a book and I
Uh-huh.
titled it, it's catchy, The Answers. Everything that I have is the
Uh-huh.
answers to intimacy. And
Right.
I was so surprised that even with the subtitle, so many people thought that the book was just about sex, like a how to do this and a how to do that. I'm like, but that's not even what the book says it's about. That's not what the title says. And so
Mm.
I wanted to put
Right.
it out again because in talking to people afterwards, so many people who actually took the time to read the book were shocked with the information that was in it, because it was so helpful in their relationship with their parents, number one, and with their children. And
Wow.
people like have a difficult sibling relationship, and I've had difficulties with my sister, my sibling as well. And
Mhm.
so learning how to actually communicate with them, understanding what trauma is, understanding
Right.
the history of different relationships in your life, all of those things play a big part um, in how you interact with each other and how intimate you are and where your
Mhm.
relationship goes. And believe it
Right.
or not, in how you internalize what sex is and how that affects you and all of those things. So it really is tied together.
Wow. See,
So
and
that's where
listen,
it came from.
but listen, but see, and so people like me, like you said, and others like me, you see intimacy, and your mind quickly was like, ooh, okay,
Yes.
wait a minute, the answers to intimacy. It's like, okay, but like you shared in your book, and like you just shared now, it is not, just about sex, and intimacy is just so much bigger than that. It's so much
Right.
more than
Right.
that, right? So
And I think
what is, yeah, go ahead, what you was gonna
Well,
say.
I think TD Jakes, which I do quote him in the book, I think he has the best definition of intimacy that I've heard. And intimacy, he defines it as intimacy, or like you see into me, intimacy, and that's to see into
Ooh,
someone is closeness. So intimacy is about closeness, is about relationship, and that unfortunately we use it interchangeably with sex, but we should not, because
mm,
people have sex with no relationship, and
ooh,
sometimes people have relationship with no sex and they have a closeness. And so that's something that people we need to allow our vocabulary to evolve and to
yeah,
not use those two words interchangeably, because they are very different things.
yes, and real, that's the, I like, TD's
Yes, he's amazing.
definition of that. That's wow. Yeah, and that's like you was talking about in your book, right? Having that relationship, the intimacy with your children, your
Yes.
parents, your siblings, right? Talk a little bit about, some of the things when you was doing your research, like some of the examples or some of the challenges, just give us a little bit about what you found, and if there were any tips or anything about how you can create the intimacy and how you can help it, like if you don't have that relationship
Mhm.
with your loved ones. Talk to us about that.
Well, one thing that you can begin by doing is just to acknowledge where you are. And a lot of times we don't do that. We lie about who we are and where we are. And we'll say that we have these great relationships with people when really we don't. Really, we
Mm,
don't know people. And I'll use myself, for example, as somebody who was
mhm,
married for I think I was married with my ex husband for 12 years. And even in that, looking back, like even when he and I talked, we didn't have intimacy. Of course, we had sex, we have a child, but we didn't
mhm,
have intimacy. We just weren't close. And so what happens is a lot of times, especially as Black women, we're closed off, not because we want to be, but because that's the only way we know how to be. That's who we have had to be in society. We've
mhm.
had to be strong. We've had to be hard. We had to be this quote unquote strong Black woman. And so I talk about that in the book, like having to be a strong Black woman is not a good thing, because we were created to be soft, not to just have to survive and have to be hard.
Right.
But if
Mhm.
you think about it, from the history of you to your mom's generation, to grandmama generation, to great grandmama generation, all the way back to where our ancestors were snatched from the coast of Africa, when do we ever get treatment or healing for the trauma that is in our DNA now? We know that's
Right.
scientifically true for kidnapping or for rape.
Yeah.
Never. And when
Right.
do we ever get healing or treatment for the fact that Black women a lot of times are taught to be distant from their children? And nobody will
Mhm.
verbally tell you that, but emotionally, we're taught to be distant from our children from generational experience. Because Black women, in order to survive and in order to continue to move on, we had to be distant from our children because we knew that those children were going to be taken away from us. They were going to be sold. And
Oh,
that's
yes.
real.
Okay.
And that is
Yes.
something that if you talk to the average Black woman, and I mean literally mean average, just talk to people in your circle and just ask them, are you close with your mom? What does that look like? So many people, and I said, well, what do you mean? Did your mom hug you? Did she say I love you? And what that looks like. And the reason why we have learned to be distant is because we had to in order to survive, and because we never really deeply uncover that wound just goes on and on and on and on, and we don't really discover what that is and why we carry it. But so I'm so glad that I had the opportunity to discover this and to share it with people, because when we build women and we build men, we're trying to build everybody. You build that relationship. When you build that relationship between husband and wife, then you're able to build a family. When you build family, you build community. And when you
Right.
build a community, then that's when we really are talking real nation building and being stable. And that's the goal. And so all of that to answer your question.
Wow. So that man, I'm sitting here and I'm like just like not little flabbergasted because it's really making me think, like you said, like really just reflecting on intimacy, and do you have that, like just some of the things that you said when you about your mom, right? And it's just got me
Hmm.
thinking back, like I'm like, wait a minute. And I'm even thinking back to my grandma, right? My grandmother, she would, I mean, the way that she showed love, I mean, one, like she would take us anywhere we wanted to. She used to send us care
Hmm.
packages because we were up north and she lived in South Carolina. She would send packages, send us, like they say back in the day, a little piece of money, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Right? Send a little piece of money. But I'm thinking like, I don't remember my grandmother like really initiating a hug.
yeah.
I and kissing on me.
Mm-hmm.
I remember, and all the things that my grandmother did, I really just kind of remember her. I remember she would sit in her chair and she kind of had like this, I mean, although I know this is not kids that's going to be watching this, so I'm not going to cuss, but she kind of had like this, like, you know how you hear people say that resting bleep
Yes. Face.
face.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was just kind of like that. But she would do anything for us and
Yeah.
stuff. And so it's making me think, like you said, from her generation and like her mom, like, so it just, makes me think like, man, I wonder, did her mom, did
Yeah.
she learn that from her mom? And did my mom get that from, her? But, I really tried to break that, you know,
Good.
when it
Good.
came, yeah, with my son, to hug more. And even, and you know what, as we talking this out, full transparency, I can remember a time when I wasn't so huggy buggy with my son, and I never
Mm-hmm.
really thought. And man, you do something about my son, I will cut you, slice you
Right.
dead. But it's, I'm sitting here thinking, I'm like, oh snap, wait a minute,
Yeah.
did I really was? And so, man, yeah, girl, you just, oh, you got me.
Yeah.
That's
So
deep,
that's just chapter one.
man. Wow, when you really think about it, and like you said, like check, and we got to be self-aware, we got to check ourselves and
Yes.
be honest, right? And one of the things that you said when you started talking about the book, you was like, we got to be honest about where we are and who we are with our relationships, right?
Yes.
Don't be sitting talking about, oh, I have this great relationship with my sister or my brother or my mom,
Right.
and you don't. So now let me ask you, did you find that, well now let me ask, did you do any interviews, any live interviews, like talking with people to get some information for the book when you was doing research?
No, I didn't. Most of
Okay.
what I did my nerd style. I just read. I read a lot and I
But
listed
no,
references in the book.
that's not nerd style. That's just now the reason I ask is because I was just curious if people felt, if they truly felt they did have a good relationship. But the other person, sometimes we could think everything is all good because
Mm-hmm.
we really truly believe that it's all good. But the other
Right.
person, if you speak to the other person, they're like, excuse me,
Yeah.
no, we're not good. Why do you think we're good, right? So I was just curious because that does happen,
Yeah,
right?
but
You
in,
think
in
it's good.
yeah,
Mhm.
in workshops, even afterwards, like talking to some of the people about this book, a lot of
Uh-huh.
people did share that they felt like they are in two different relationships. And I know a lot of people who say that they feel like they're in a relationship with their partner, but they are in two different relationships because one person, their needs are being met and the other person's are not. And they don't even have a tool to use to discuss what those needs are and how to get those needs met. So my ex-husband and I, we're cool, we're good friends, but if we
Mhm.
had this book, we probably would still be married because
Mhm.
we didn't have tools. Neither of us knew that we had trauma previously. We didn't know that that trauma was affecting our relationship. We didn't know that we weren't
Ooh.
intimate. We didn't understand that neither of our moms were intimate with us, so we didn't know how to create that intimacy either in our relationship. And I mean, and that's real. And he's a good dude. I'm a good person, but we just
Right.
didn't know. And we didn't know that we didn't know. So it
You
was
didn't
just,
know that you didn't know,
we didn't know
right?
that we didn't
You
know.
didn't know that you didn't know, man. You know what? Hearing you talk about this, like you saying how, man, you and your husband didn't even realize the
Mm-mm.
trauma, right? You didn't even
We didn't
know that you guys were not even experiencing intimacy,
know. Right.
right? How many relationships today don't even realize that they're not even sharing intimacy, that
Yeah.
they think the intimacy is just, sex, right?
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of time, look, it is because intimacy, like you said, which we know it is something bigger than that. But you know, it doesn't have to be physical
Right.
intimacy, even when you're talking sexual, right? You can experience intimacy without the physical
Definitely.
action,
Yep.
right? And to me, that is just even more beautiful
Yeah, it is.
when you can share with your partner that non-physical intimacy.
Definitely.
Baby, yes, ma'am. Yes,
Yes.
ma'am. That,
That's
that's
beautiful.
that's that other level. And some
It
people, like
is.
you said,
Yep.
they don't even know. They don't even know. They don't even know. And the next level, I know I might be get some people gonna say, wait, Mo, what you talking about? Oh, with the mom with the energy. Oh, that's
Asking.
another level. Oh, that's another level. But
It
you
is.
have connected and you have
Right.
to understand that energy that you have with your person.
Mm-hmm.
That's deep. That's deep.
That's
And
so true.
yeah, and man, I just wonder, like, is a lot of the relationships out there today, you know, man, they could probably be so much better, understanding what intimacy really is and the signs of when you don't have it. Now, in your book,
Mm-hmm.
does it have like the signs, like to let you know, like that you
Yes.
don't have it? Okay, I was going to say, because if you don't know that
Yes.
you don't have it, like, how do you do? Okay, so the book does speak about that. Okay.
And it has a workbook too. So this time I separated the book and the workbook. It'll be available April 13th. But I separated it because I really want people to use this as a tool with your partner to work through where you are. So yes, talk about the history of your family and your trauma. And the other part of it that I'm asking people to do is to actually talk to your mom about what the relationship with dad was. Talk to dad about, just from their perspective, do it separately, because
Yeah.
a lot of people will be surprised how many folks were forced to get married, never wanted to be with that person, got
Oh,
married because they was pregnant, thugged it
yeah,
out for 25 years because they had kids, and then the
yeah,
kids mad at the dad because they were like, well, you cheated on my mama the whole time. I didn't want to be with your mom. But they don't, those
they
conversations aren't
don't
being
know.
had. And we need to be
Yeah,
honest with each other. And you didn't, Mr. Johnny really is your daddy and not this person. And and that affects you. That affects how your mom treats you. It affects how
right,
aunts and uncles and all those things. And so
right.
you need to write it down and work through that. Take it to your therapist and talk about
Yeah,
it. And
yeah,
but yeah, all of that stuff is in there for you to really, really
yes,
work through, because we got to be honest with ourselves. Because so many
yes.
people are lying to themselves and other people.
Right, and they don't know,
They
and they
don't know.
don't know, and I mean, man, and I just want to speak for, because I know this book, of course, which I think this is a wonderful thing that you have done, and that's what I love. This show, that's what this show is about, right? This show is about individuals and businesses who are doing great work, right? Who are serving, like, for the greater good, right? And so I know all cultures and everything. This book is for everybody, and the workbook, because that's with the second release, is the adding of that workbook, right? So you can have
Right.
people really do the work, right? It's like, let's
Exactly.
work through some things, right? Yes, we read it, but now we're going to write some things that we're going to dig in deeper, right? They're drilling
Definitely.
down
Mm-hmm.
deeper, right? They're drilling down deeper, so they can make the relationship stronger,
Definitely.
right? And I just think, and so, like I said, like, just speaking with, just within the Black community,
Mm-hmm.
I honestly, I just feel like our our men and women, our brothers and sisters, so many people are broken,
Yeah.
right? And this is part of it. This not knowing if you are experiencing intimacy
Right.
in your relationships, this is so key, and this is definitely missing. And I believe, and that's why a lot of this, right, a lot of the brokenness in our relationships, I will say, I really believe it's like this intimacy, like the
Mm-hmm.
foundation, really knowing the relationships, with our, the history of our people, of our family, and that whole dynamic. And if you don't know that, it really does affect your romantical, your romantical relationships, your business, everything, right? Your
Yeah.
relational intelligence, right? My pastor, his book, I mean, just he wrote a book, my pastor, Darius Daniels. Shout out, Pastor, love you, Change Church, ATL. But he wrote a
Hey,
book. Yes, I love that church. Oh, I love that church. He wrote a book, Relational Intelligence, and it just really, like, he
I'm gonna have to check that
he
out.
is, oh yes, relational intelligence. And he really speaks to, and he hones in, and I mean, he drives home the importance of your relationships. Your
Hmm.
relationships are found there. So let's just say, at the simplistic level, keeping it simple, is that relationships really build your foundation, right?
Right.
Right. And so his book talks about understanding them, knowing where to put people, right? Because this book was a game changer for me, right? Where I
Nice.
place
Yeah.
people, not calling people friends, prematurely calling somebody a friend when they should not be a friend. They don't deserve it. All that. I mean, I'm
Gotcha.
saying, check that book out. It just was an eye opener for me. But so that, just your book, the answers to intimacy, that is part of the whole relationship scheme. Like, I mean, like
Yeah.
all up in the circle, like all of this, right? It's all plays a part. And I'm so thankful, because I truly believe this is definitely a book that will help people get their relationship, for those that really want to be in it, right?
Yeah.
Want to stay in. There's some people who maybe don't want to do the work, because it's not going to be easy,
Right.
right? I mean, that, my opinion is, when you are really digging in and have to be honest and really maybe doing some shadow work, right? It's not easy. It's
It's not.
not easy doing shadow work. It's not easy saying, "Ooh, I'm not good in this," or you know what, I was wrong in it. It's hard saying
Right.
where we're weak, and some people really have that challenge in doing that. But man, when you're doing that shadow work, coming out on the other side of it, that's just, I just believe that that's amazing.
Yeah, it's
And
beautiful.
yeah, it's beautiful. And I thank you for doing this. This is great. So how can they, I know it comes out April 13th,
Hmm.
right? So I know you still have, is your first edition still available?
It's still available. Yes, it'll still be
Yeah,
available
okay.
until the 12th of April. It's available on Amazon. I tried to get my book off Amazon, but the craziest thing is that Amazon bought everybody. So,
Wait, wait a
um,
minute. Wait a minute. When you say Amazon brought everybody, what?
yeah, for real. So, like, I've had about, since I started writing in 2015, it was about
Uh-huh.
8 different companies that I would distribute through, because I was trying to avoid Amazon just because I want to keep the money that I make off my book. But now I'm doing a 50-50 split with Amazon because they want my money. So, because of course they need it, they're broke.
So,
It would be
so
a
you
facetious.
negotiated with them.
No, you
You
don't
negotiated.
negotiate it. If you put your book on there, they taking 50%. Period.
Oh, okay.
Um,
He was like, no, period. They're
Yeah.
taking
So, and
50%.
it used
Okay.
to, when I put my first book out, I got 90%. And that was in 2015. And
Wow.
now it's evolved to where it's at a 50% split because, Amazon is a giant and that's what they do. But yeah, all that to say, it's still available. It's available
Okay.
online.
Still on Amazon.
Yes.
Now, can they purchase, will your book be on a personal website or any place else that they can get it, or just right now it's on Amazon?
Right now it's just on Amazon. It's also on the website, theanswerstoracism.com. But Amazon
Okay.
does ship faster and a lot of people have that for shipping. So I'm fine if they use that. And
Okay.
yeah, you can download the audiobooks if you want the audiobook now. That's available from
Okay.
the website, theanswerstoracism.com, spelled out phonetically. Um, and then, so it's been fun too, interacting with people, because a lot of people did decide to buy through the website. And
Uh-huh.
you can sign up and we chat. So I talk to people and they ask questions and I'm able to give feedback. And that's what I love. Because again, I'm a teacher and I love
Right.
talking to people. I love to see the light bulb go off and I love to see people really wanting to to do better, to be better, to change their lives. And for me,
Yeah.
that's what it's about.
Yes, right. But isn't that like such a warm and fuzzy feeling? Like
It
when
is.
you see people get the light, when you actually see the light bulb, like she got it or he got
Yes,
it. It feels good
definitely.
because I know that makes you feel good, sis. It's like,
Yes.
wow, God put that in you. He
Yes.
dropped this in you. You was obedient and you followed, and I just that is just so wonderful because this definitely is a answer to help us make our relationships better. That is wonderful. Yeah, so thank
Thank
you. So guys, make sure that you go on Amazon and look for her book, The Answers to Intimacy, and then the one, say that again, with the racism. And I'm gonna try to make sure I can put this in the
Mhm.
description, all of this good stuff when I
Okay.
upload the video on my channel, like so people can know and because I want them to follow you. So how can they follow? Because we're about to jump into some playtime with Mo. But
Okay.
before we do that, I want you to tell people how they can connect with you, how can they follow you on your socials, or however you want them to connect with you. Go ahead.
Okay, so you can find all of the titles of the books and the audiobooks on theanswerstoracism.com. Theanswerstoracism.com, spelled out phonetically. And you can follow me on Facebook or Instagram at Old Bad Troya. Old Bad
Oh,
Troya. And it's funny,
natural.
OLEBADD, two D's, TROYA. Because I'm double dynamic. So you got it's two D's. Old Bad Troya. And it's so funny when people hear that. For women, it's automatically, it's like animated for them, but for men, automatically think porn. And I'm like, what are y'all talking about? Like, I literally went and asked someone, if I say the name, you'll know who they are. But I went to their book signing and asked them to sign my book to Old Bad Troya, and he refused. And he was like, I'm not doing it. He was just, and I asked him later, well, asked his folks, well, what was the with that? And he was like, well, that's just dirty. And that's because I'm like, what are you talking about? But they hear it and automatically associate it with some just, I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
You just kind of have to
Yeah.
let people have their
Yeah,
little
yeah,
crazy.
that's a little sad that he wouldn't allow himself to just be open-minded. And I'm not saying that, hey, it was wrong for him to go directly where he went, right? Because that happens, right? People hear
Yeah,
different things and they receive it differently, right? But
right,
once it's explained to you, dude, like open your mind, like calm down, relax,
right.
right? That's what I'm saying. Like, well, that's unfortunate, and you're always gonna run into that. But
Yes.
that's okay. That's okay. That's just it's kind of like what we have to deal with, right?
Here's what it is.
Right. It is what it is. Okay. All right. So before we wrap up the show, man, I tell you, boy, it's almost at 8 o'clock, and I
Yes.
tell you, the show's almost over. So this is the time where we are going to have a little fun time with the Mo, right? So we're gonna have a little improv, right?
Okay.
So yep, we're gonna have a little improv game. For those who don't know me personally, I am an actress, and so I love
A good one.
stage. Oh, thank you so much, sis. Thank you. So, love the stage and film and all of that. So, but I also love improv. And so we're going to play this game called Questions. Have you heard of that game?
I'm
Question.
not sure. Well, we have to answer the question. What a question?
So what it is I'm going to create the scenario,
Okay.
right? And so every response has to be a question, cannot be a statement.
Okay.
It has to be a question.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So here's the scenario. I am setting you up on a blind date,
Oh Lord.
right? And you are just a little resistant to it. So you're my sister. We're blood sisters, and I'm telling you, we're I'm setting you up on this blind date. All right. So remember, Everything has to be with a question.
A
Okay?
question.
Okay. All right. You ready? I'm
Ready.
counting us down.
Okay.
In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So, girl, are you ready for your blind date?
Do you think I'm ready?
Do you honestly feel that you're not ready?
How can I be prettier?
Are you really asking me how you can be prettier?
Are you really setting me up on this blind date?
You know that this is a very good thing for you to do.
Does my butt look big in this dress?
Wait, I lost because I did a statement. Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Look, I messed up. I lost. I'm supposed to be the queen. I daggone lost. Okay. You won. Let me ring the bell. Ding, 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 ding. You won. You won. I was like, oh shit, wait a minute. I was like, I thought I asked a question. Dang, see, it's not as easy. It's not as easy as
Yeah,
you
it's
think.
definitely hard.
Oh, shoot. Yeah. Yeah. Questions is hard. Oh my gosh. Troya, thank you. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you for having me.
yeah, starting this is, me doing the whole starting back up with what's good. Thank you
I
so
love
much
it.
for starting me off back on my journey
You're
to
welcome.
what's good. Thank
And I am
you.
so proud of you for going for
Thank
it.
you.
And you always support me. You're amazing and I appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So everybody, let's say bye to Miss Troya.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, sis. And I'll talk to you soon.
All right.
Okay? All right. Bye. So, everybody, thank you guys so much for joining me today. This was great, man. I feel really good. I feel really good. And like I said, thank you for joining my podcast. I have so many, many, many more wonderful shows in store for you. And so remember, as always, be the change that you want to see in the world. It's your girl Mo Diva, and thank you for watching. Bye.